Alright, welcome back. In this video, I'll show you how you can run Docker on FreeBSD and basically run your projects as you do on Linux. Of course, there is there is Docker for FreeBSD, but it's outdated and it's stated. It says Docker currently is broken. We're working on a current executable version. Help is welcome, current status, and so on and so on. And please support them in any possible way, either by helping them develop this or by donating or whatever. It's a good call anyway. However, I cannot wait until this is done so I can do work on my projects, and my goal is to work on and use Docker on FreeBSD, so I don't have a reason to stay on Linux. So basically what we'll do, we are going to install a virtual machine, and inside of that virtual machine we'll mount a folder from directory from our host. I'll create a directory called projects, and that projects directory will be mounted inside of a virtual machine running in vm-bhyve. And basically I'll walk you through this process, what you have to do. So let's start with first what we need for vm-bhyve to set up first so we can start using it. Okay, so FreeBSD, vm-bhyve, great, this is nice, excellent. Basically I need to, what will I see if my CPU doesn't support. All right, so what you need to do, you need to add this VMM to etc rc.conf, and it will be here like this in KLD list. If you don't have KLD list, create one and just add it like this. However, since I have it, I don't need this row, so I can go with this one only. I just append, there is a space, and VMM. All right, so next thing we need is vm-bhyve. I want to simplify the whole process of running virtual machine, so I don't want to reinvent the wheel. We'll use VM. VM is basically a documented command on BSD. It's nothing, it's nothing special. It's the FreeBSD System Manager manual. VM is the utility to manage vm-bhyve virtual machines, and basically we can create them and so on and so on. So let's see a couple of things. So basic setup is in your all right, let's follow actually this let's follow this instruction. I think it's more straightforward. So it says, all right, let's be a root. Okay. All right, this is done. Then we'll need to create this pool, and in my case it's RLS. So we need to do something here. It says VM enabled should be yes, and vmdir is important to be set. sudo vim etc/rc.conf. Okay, we're going to add what they asked for. So first thing is we need to enable VM enable yes, great. Then we need to say what kind of data set, where is our data set loaded, and in that case I will use, it's actually zroot in my case, zroot VM. Let me show you why. Because if I do a SSHFS list, it's zroot actually, the pool name is zroot, ZFS pool. So I should execute the following command: sudo ZFS, or run this as root, create zroot VM. All right, so now when we do ZFS list, we'll see our VM. Great, you can list it if you want at zroot VM. It's mounted there. Great, this is done. So we did this configuration inside of rc.conf by adding these two lines. One more time, this name you have to, it depends on your machine, but if you install the FreeBSD 13.0, the name of the pool is actually zroot. So that's the reason why I executed this command here. ZFS create zroot /VM. All right, that part is done. Now we need to execute VM init. All right, great, everything is fine. Then we need to create the switch. Switch is like the virtual switch for the virtual network that our virtual machine will use in this case. Sudo vm switch create public. Great, now we need to add to public switch, we need to add our local interface. In my case, how you can find your local interface, you just run if config, and then the name of our network is here. So it's IGB0, and the local address is 192.168.291. All right. Oh, no, not the one. Public. I need the name of interface. This is the name of interface. That's it. Great. Right now we need ISO, and I'll use, for my virtual machine, I'll use Alpine Linux, in which one I'll install the Docker. The reason why I'm using Alpine, it's really easy to install. It's just like, you know, just follow the instructions, and in a couple of commands you install the Docker, and it's really, and the documentation is really simple how to do all of this. And I'll show you, because I don't know this in my head. I'll research while I do this, and you'll be able to see the way of my reasoning. So let's go to Alpine Linux, and Alpine Linux doesn't have a systemd. So if you use FreeBSD, it'll be you know, irony to use something that uses systemd. I'm just kidding. There is nothing wrong with systemd. All right. So right now we need a link to ISO file. I'll use the standard one. There is a virtual one which is stripped down. I don't know how stripped down it is. I really need something that supports everything out of box. So right click here, copy link location, and you just type sudo vm iso copy paste, and right now vm-bhyve virtual manager will actually download this ISO file for us. And this is similar to Docker images, how they work. So this is a similarity. All right, it was really quick, and it was like only 125 megabytes to download, which is great. Right now, the next thing is we should, you see this thing here? I skipped that part. So we need to copy templates. Okay, so after creating the virtual switch and adding interface, network interface to a public, we need to create the virtual machine now. So let's go to a cd zroot VM templates, and there is let's copy Alpine conf into docker.conf. So sudo. If we open right now, and make sure you open with sudo vim docker, so we copied the predefined configuration of virtual machine for Alpine to Docker. You open Docker and you'll be able right now to set up how many virtual CPUs you want. Let's say 8, let's say 16 gigabytes. I have 32 cores, 16 cores, 32 threads, and I'm going to use 16 gigabytes of RAM out of 128. And wherever you see vanilla, just substitute that with LTS, because ISO file that we downloaded, it's actually has these names for the init vm-bhyve and the kernel. So boot VM Linux LTS, just wherever you see vanilla, you substitute that with LTS, and that's it. Basically, this is all. You save. So right now we are going to create. Let's be on purpose in root. Sudo vm create. Just one moment. Let's see. Help first. For create, we can say what kind of template we want to use. There is one more thing. I need hard drive where I'm gonna store data of this virtual machine. So to create it, I can say sudo vm create and then -t and then name template, and I'll name just the created template. Even though template was called docker conf, you just type docker conf, you just type this base name docker. You don't have to type docker conf, so just say docker, and it will know it's going to use that template, the docker conf template from the zroot vm templates. And then you say how large you want your hard drive to be. Let's say 50 gigs. It's not gonna take immediately 50 gigs. Don't worry. It's sparse storage. It will grow eventually. Let's say 100 gigs. And let's name this this virtual machine, and I'll also call it Docker. All right. So right now, sudo vm. Let's see what kind of ISO files we downloaded, and there is one. This is Alpine standard only, and that's exactly what we need. So right now we need somehow to install this ISO file inside of this Docker virtual machine. So we do that by typing sudo vm install, then we type the name of the virtual machine, which is Docker, and the name of ISO file. So basically that's it, really. It's simple like that. Grab, oh, okay, we need to install a couple of more things in order for this to work. Okay, so we need sudo vkg install grab2bhyve, and also VM. I think I already installed this one, but for any case, yes. Now let's install sudo vm install docker and ISO file they want to install. That's it. It works for now. So right now we'll attach to that virtual machine by typing sudo vm console and the name of the virtual machine, which is in this case Docker. And now we'll be able to see. We should be able to see a grub screen. Basically like, bootloader, if we have done everything correctly. Oh, Alpine Linux already actually is run. Great. Root is login, and in order to set up, you just type setup Alpine. We are right now inside of virtual machine, and we just follow the instructions. Select keyboard layout, none, enter the system host name. I'll call it Docker, that will be the name. It can be anything. Which one you want to initialize? ETH0, it's like, it's in network interface inside of virtual machine. Do I want to use DHCP? Yes. Do you want to add any manual configuration? No. All right, so we got IP address. Now we're asked to enter the root password. All right, and right now it's installing everything, fetching from internet. Make sure you need to press enter. It will look like it's installed, but it's not stuck there. Don't worry. Which time zone you're in? I'll say, I think there is UTC. Yes, there is UTC. Just type UTC and don't worry about the rest. Do you want to use any proxy? No. Which NTP client do you want to use? Crony by default? Yes, please. And right now it's starting Crony. Okay, so we need to select now the mirror, and this is really nice feature in Alpine Linux, which I didn't see in the FreeBSD installer. Do I want to add from the random list? Do I want to detect the fastest one? Let's say I want to find the fastest one. So right now it's going to probe all 54 mirrors, and it'll find the fastest one, and it's going to forever use that one, and that's basically what I want. All right, it found the fastest one. It's in Hungary, I guess. Which SSH server you want to use? Let's say OpenSSH. That's default. Which disk would you like to use? Also, you have to type VDA because here are the listed ones. Would you like to use it for system, data, LVM, or something else? I want to use it for system. I don't care about else. So it's going to use the whole, Earth, the bow disks, and continue. Yes. And it's basically installing the system right now. We are inside a virtual machine. Alpine Linux, and the next thing will be to install Docker. And we'll run Docker, and after that we'll install SSHFS Fuse driver, so we can mount SSH over SSH directories from outside. But we'll be able to edit. So edit will happen in the FreeBSD. However, we'll be able to run these projects inside the virtual machine and see files immediately change there. So you keep the work in FreeBSD, and only the Docker is running in the virtual machine and executing normally. That's it. That's it. It's done. I'll now reboot. Just type reboot. It's not gonna reboot the real machine. It will just reboot virtual machine. Great, and now you see grub, console, it's launching. Excellent. Great, we are there. Let's follow Alpine Linux Docker. So just a couple of commands. There is nothing special. You need to execute apk add docker, and I'll immediately also. All right, let's first do that one. Oh, there is no. You need apk update and etc apk, and then repositories. Go there edit it and just remove remove comments, because we need these repositories. And now again you need to execute apk update. It will fetch definitions from them, and now we'll be able to see Docker. So now you run apk add docker, it sees it, that's great. Excellent. You can skip this one because we are the only user root in the virtual machine. We don't have the regular user. And you type rc update at docker at boot. Great. I can immediately start it. Okay. You can skip this part. And also I need the apk at docker compose. So that's it. There is nothing else required. However, what we need to do right now is we need to apk search SSHFS, add and install SSHFS. Great. So in order to connect outside of, let's see first what's the IP address we got. The IP address we got inside of container is 192.168.237. My external, my physical device, IGB, I guess, ifig has address 291. So I'll need to connect to 291 from inside of, from inside of container. In order to do that, let's first create SSH keys. All right, so let's say SSH key again, TRSA B4096. Yes. Okay, enter for now, and then there is one more thing we need to do. On hosts, we have to create folder SSH, directory SSH. Like this, and let's say vim, it is SSH authorized keys. Go to your Docker virtual machine, cat SSH ID pub, and just copy paste this. Copy from here, paste here. So this will be our authorized key. All right. Now we will be able to SSH from our virtual machine to our host machine, like real machine, without any passwords. Let's test this. SSH root. Actually, it's mdasic. And let's see what's the real address. The real address is 291. Do you want to? Yes. And I just SSH from my virtual machine to my real machine. And right now I'm connected to my real machine. I'll exit. All right, it works. So why I'm doing this? I'm doing this so I want to be able to use SSHFS to mount. So I can say SSHFS mdasic and this is my address on the real machine. Which folder I want to use home mdasic projects, and where I want to mount them, I want to mount inside of root projects. Bad mount, no such file. All right, so let's create it. And let's now again repeat. Device not found, right? All right, so we haven't, there is more things we need to do. So we need to be able to auto-load this Fuse module inside of Linux. So, all right, so we need to create the file vm etc modules load the and then fuse.conf, and you just, oh, there is no link, and you just type Fuse as module. So right now, if I reboot machine, the Fuse will be loaded. I can manually load it now with command mod prop Fuse. This is like KLD load on the FreeBSD. So now I can go back and execute SSHFS and mount. And it worked. So if I do ls projects, I see it here. Let's do one more thing. Let's say watch ls-l root projects. So we're looking at watching at the root projects. Again, this is virtual environment, and right now if I go here and I create something, let's say empty file and directory, they will pop up inside here. This pulls every 2 seconds, so all right, so they're visible. If I delete them and inside of my virtual machine do ls root projects, after some time, it takes a few seconds, they'll be deleted. They're deleted now. So you see there is a little delay. It's not huge deal. It's not huge deal breaker, but it works. It's fine. So right now, let's create something quite simple. Let's prove that we can create Docker Compose and Docker Compose file, and we can run it. So I'm right now, this is going to be open, and this is virtual machine, this Docker, the hostname Docker. All right. So in another terminal, I will open, this is my host machine, all right? So here I'll go to projects and I'll create new project called demo0. Inside that one, I will create, actually let's switch to a Sublime text. I'll add the whole projects is visible, and we are going to create docker compose.yaml file, docker compose.yaml. All right. So 3.8 is the latest version of Docker Compose. Let's run proxy image caddy expose port. We're going to expose 80, which is 80 inside, and 443, which is 443 inside. All right, let's see if this is gonna work. Oh, this is not exposed, this is ports, called ports. So if we say ls cd projects, ls demo0, and I say docker compose up, let's say build. It's running a Docker inside of virtual machine. Docker is fetching all images and running, and right now if I type IP address, I don't know the IP address from the virtual machine. Let's close it for a second. Control C, config. So if I type this address here, I should be able to see and run before the Docker Compose up. I should be able to see caddy, and we see it. This is, you see, this is great. So basically, our virtual machine is running Docker, and we are able to access it from the IP of virtual machine. So I can continue developing here. If I can create some simple app, I don't know what's really appropriate here to create, but we can run anything you want to run. What would we run in a Docker? I mean, that's another topic, but I just wanted to show you how you can keep working and developing in FreeBSD and like letting your virtual machine handle Docker and seeing the changes from here. So basically you just edit your normal directory called projects, your normal project called demo1, and you have probably Docker Compose inside or Docker files or whatever. They're synced from SSHFS from host inside of the virtual machine, and it takes some time. It's not immediate. There is some slight delay, as you saw, but there is one more thing which we didn't solve. So I want to show you what's not solved. Let's say I want to reboot this virtual machine right now, and I'm rebooting, and I'll come back. There is a problem. The problem is the mount point /root/projects, it's not permanent, and I want it permanent. Thankfully, there is a way we can use SSHFS inside of etc fstab. And so in order to create a permanent mount point, we will do the following thing. We'll go to edit the etc fstab, and then say where from we're trying to mount mtasic, and what's the IP address. IP address is this one, and what folder from home mtasic project. So I'll mount the whole projects directory inside of what's going to be mount point inside of a virtual machine. It's a root projects. Right now we have to type what kind of file system we use. We use Fuse SSHFS, defaults, netdev. Netdev is important to wait for network first to be ready before we mount, and that's it. So this should work. Let's test it out by typing mount root projects ls root projects. Great, it works. Let's reboot just to confirm that we have the permanent mount point. ls root projects. We should be up right now. It's not, for some reason. It's not loaded automatically. All right, let's for now just type root projects, and it'll know how to mount it. So if we go to root projects demo and we type docker compose up, we should be fine. Refresh. All right, it works. I'll work on this part. I mean, it should be automatically loaded, but for some reason it doesn't work. I honestly don't know the reason. Maybe there is something additional we need to do. I'll explore that, but for now what I have a really nice environment where I can work on my projects, from FreeBSD, edit files, they're synced, not immediately, but in a couple of seconds inside of over the SSH connection inside of the virtual machine, and I'm done. If I do one more thing, if I do right now change here, if I say edit Docker Composer YAML and for example do enter and I save it here, I also see a change. So when you edit, be careful. When you edit from virtual machine, you also edit on your host machine. Why, as a closing note, why I didn't run Docker as a daemon and use just the existing Docker executable in the FreeBSD to communicate over the network with the daemon? The problem is mounting of volumes. So I have to be able to mount my folders, my directories inside of Dockers, and for that I need some kind of driver or plugin, and I will work in the future versions how you can have your Docker daemon running inside of Alpine. You just fire it and forget it, and you use Docker from your host, and you can mount the volumes as you can on your Mac and Windows and Linux, and just let the daemon inside the virtual machine take care of everything. So daemon will basically run in the virtual machine, but the client, Docker client part will only run on the FreeBSD. I still need more exploration for that. For now, this is good enough solution for me to work on the projects and not rely on Linux as a main operating system. Just as one more thing, as a closing note, if you wanna detach from console from the virtual machine, you type Shift tilde, or actually tilde, and then Control D. It can be confusing to detach from the virtual machine. It should be just Shift tilde Control D, but it's not working. So my advice is just open another tab, close that tab. Okay, the machine is still running. You can check by typing sudo vm list. So you can see it's running. In the background, you can again attach by typing sudo vm console docker. Docker is the name of virtual machine. And that's it, I'm back there. For some reason, it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Shift tilde Control D. I don't know why it doesn't work, really. It's annoying. Anyway, even if I close terminal, it's still running in the background. So if I run fire once Docker Compose and just move here, I know it's working. So let's first confirm it's not working because Docker Compose is closed. But if I type sudo vm console docker, all right, and then I go and Docker Compose up, I can immediately close it. It's running in the background. So bingo. That's all for this episode. I hope you have more reasons to stay on FreeBSD now. I mean, you already have because you're FreeBSD users, but for users which are switching from Linux, Mac, Windows to FreeBSD and want their Docker environments running, I think this is a relatively easy way how to start. Of course, I could write a script to do this for you. I might do it in the future. I just wanted to show you step by step the reasoning behind this solution, and it's good enough. In future, I'll work on a Docker client, and I'll try to keep executable the latest Linux executable for Docker. For the client side, I'll not run a Docker daemon there. I'll still run a Docker daemon inside the virtual machine because I really don't want to fight a Linux compatibility layer. For now, that's all. Thanks for watching and see you next episode. I hope this was really helpful for you. Goodbye.